back up to Glasgow and our Scotland correspondent Conor Gillis. You've got some news, Conor?
Yeah, breaking news in the last few seconds. John Swinney is the new leader of the SNP. He is the sole nominee and he is now set to become Scotland's next First Minister, 7th First Minister in the period of devolution and the third party leader in little over a year. Some cheers from the crowd here on Scotland's busiest shopping street. This is a big job for a man who has been in politics for a very long time here in Scotland. A government minister for 16 of the 17 years the SNP has been in power north of the border in government here. A close ally of Nicola Sturgeon and was her deputy First Minister for the entire period that she was in the top job. A proud moment for him, his family and for those around him, but this is where the job now starts. He has a massive in-tray to deal with. First of all, clearly, his message was of unity. He wants to reunite a very divided SNP party that have been divided ever since that bitter contest, leadership contest of last year when Humza Yousaf and Kate Forbes went head-to-head for the top job. That opened rifts within the party, it caused them problems in the polls, and clearly now is the moment that they will be hoping to bring those people back together, with Kate Forbes being a key part of that. John Swinney said last week that in order to make a success, in order to have a crack at the top job, Kate Forbes would be a key part of his government, a significant role within that cabinet. So what position will he put her in? There were questions swirling around whether she would become Deputy First Minister. Questions too around his independent strategy. Humza Yousaf has been clear that in the next general election, the majority or the most seats for the SNP would signal the opening of talks around a second Scottish independence referendum. Interesting shift from John Swinney when speaking to Sky News on Trevor Phillips' show on Sunday, that might not be his policy. But what will it be? Well, we'll find out, no doubt, in the coming hours and days. Clearly some discussion around gender recognition reforms and making it easier for 16 and 17-year-olds to obtain a gender recognition certificate. That was put on ice when a court here in Scotland ruled that it would infringe on UK-wide equality laws and couldn't go forward. So that is sitting in his in-tray. Will he scrap that altogether as a call for unity, as a symbol, a signal of unity, given Kate Forbes was against that and there is some divisions in the party around that issue? And then clearly it will be around who he picks for cabinet positions. But this is a man of significant experience. Many see him as someone who can steer the party through crisis, bring them back on the straight and narrow. But he also comes with that baggage of having been around the establishment of the SNP for a long, long time. Will he be able to shake that off? Will he be able to charter his own path ahead in the coming months and save the SNP from disaster in the polls in the upcoming general election and then further down the line for the 2026 Holyrood election? Those are all questions for him. But I thought it was interesting last week because there was some debate around whether John Swinney, having stepped away from frontline politics for the best part of a year, now coming back in, there was a sense that he could maybe be a caretaker leader, standing by to sort out the next election and then step aside for the next generation, given he said it was time for fresh faces and fresh perspective. Well, last week he said, I am no caretaker leader, I am no interim leader. He will lead the party through the 2026 Scottish elections. That was his mantra last week. Let's see what he's got to say for himself today. But it is breaking news, a significant moment for the SNP. John Swinney, its new leader, the third in 18 months.
And Conor, we're expecting a press conference from him. When's that going to be?
Well, I can tell you that we are expecting to hear from John Swinney this afternoon here in Glasgow at around 3 o'clock. just on the other side of the city from where we are just now. That will be a speech. It will be, no doubt, a rally of his supporters, and he has significant support from most of the Scottish current cabinet under Humza Yousaf, who today will be packing his bags and leaving through the same door that he sacked the Greens from a couple of weeks ago, that ultimately led to his demise and ultimately led to this breaking moment today. But yes, we will hear from him. There will no doubt be some questions about his priorities and how the next few days will look. But just as a point of fact here, although he becomes SNP leader today, here in Scotland it works slightly differently, unlike the situation with the Conservatives last year with Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. Holyrood will have to vote on him to become the next First Minister. I think it's unlikely that anyone else will succeed in that, but we can't quite call him the First Minister of Scotland yet. That will come tomorrow, potentially, and the rest of the week will pan out as Humza Yousaf departs.
And following that, a minority government with an SNP at the head of it, it is workable, isn't it? It's not new for Scotland.
It's not new for Scotland, it's not new for John Swinney. John Swinney has been part of a minority government here in Scotland, looking back at 2007, when Alex Salmond was the First Minister of Scotland. He led a minority government, and some would say pretty successfully at that stage. But I think the main difference now in 2024, all these years on, 17 years on from that moment, is that politics has become more tribal, it's become more divisive, and that all began in the aftermath of the 2014 Scottish independence referendum. Everything here in Scotland is seen through the prism of the pro-independence camp and the pro-union camp. And that is what makes it really tricky now for Humza Yousaf in Holyrood to try and pass budgets to get through those key votes. He has pledged to build alliances with other parties. However, it will not be as straightforward as the early days of the SNP government here in Scotland. He will have to get back round the table and try and forge those relationships in this new tribal and divisive atmosphere in Scottish politics.
Conor Guinness, the Scotland correspondent, thanks very much.